Hey YouTube, what's up? This is Ben from ShouldIGetIt.com. This is the Tamron 24-70 VC lens on my Nikon D800. I've been using this lens on my camera for over a year now. It's on here about 80% of the time, I'd say, for portraits, landscape, and automotive photography and event photography. And this has been a fantastic workhorse of a lens. Now, usually my camera bag consists of this, the 50mm f1.4 and the 85mm f1.4G, and this is on my camera almost all the time. It is such a fantastic lens, and I would definitely buy it again. I bought it for I think $850 or $900 without a warranty through Amazon. I have the link to that down below. It's absolutely fantastic. I highly recommend it. And today I want to show you the lens and a couple of physical things about it, tell you about one minor issue I have, and then go over the images. Now, before we get started, I want to say if you have a full frame camera, you should definitely get this lens, especially if you're shooting Nikon. This is just as good as the Nikon, I would say. If you're Canon, you can pull off the Canon 24-70. I've heard that's a little bit sharper than this, but this is absolutely fantastic. And if you're on a crop sensor camera like a D7100 or like a Canon T5i or a 70D or an AD80D, then you should get an 18-50 f2.8. I had the Sigma 18-50 f2.8. That was a fantastic lens, a little bit cheaper, and it's going to give you a wider angle. But anyways, here is the lens at 24mm. Here it is at 70. You can see it's not too huge. Here's a 70-200 to compare it. And it's a pretty decent size. It's hefty, but it's nice. You don't need a vertical grip to balance it out. Sorry about that. And here it is with the included lens hood. So it's a very nice setup. Feels solid. It can definitely take a beating. You know, it's been bumped around here and there. Still looks pretty good. And it is, you know, weather resistant. I wouldn't say totally weatherproof, but I've taken this out in the rain and shot, and it's been totally fine, which is awesome. Now, the only minor issue I've had with this is, hopefully you can see if the camera will focus, this piece of glass right here cracked in my camera bag. I still don't know how. I'll never find out. But I just opened it one day. This glass was cracked. Thankfully, it's not falling apart, but there's just a chip in the middle that you can feel if you run your finger over it. Doesn't look great, but who cares? The lens works absolutely fantastically well. And when I called Tamron, they said that this does happen to some of their customers. It'll just randomly crack if you hit it hard enough. And thankfully, I'm hitting it now. It's not cracking anymore, so that's good. But they said even if you get it repaired, it might happen. So I decided not to repair it. Anyways, let's go through some images that I have here in Lightroom with this lens. And again, I've been shooting with this lens for over a year now. I have sample images up on my website. The link is down in the description below. I just want to kind of walk you through some images. So here is a portrait I took, black and white. You can see everything looks really sharp. The focus is really fast and quiet, so it's easy to get candid shots with this lens. And it just looks absolutely fantastic. Everything's sharp, and you'll see that later on, especially when I show you some more of these images. But keep in mind, I'm shooting on a Nikon D800, which has a 36 megapixel sensor. So you can see this shot here, f3.2, looks really nice. Beautiful shot. Here is a good example of the vibration control. So again, on the side, you have this VC switch, that's vibration control. Basically, when you're in a car shooting rollers like this and your camera's shaking a little bit, it helps compensate for that vibration, and you can get really smooth shots even with slow shutter speeds like this. So during the daytime, it helps me a lot with my car photos, and at night, it helps me get longer exposures. Here is a studio shot I did with this lens. As you can see, tons of detail in the beard here and in the eyes. Of course, this is an edited file, but it looks really good straight off the camera. It's a very sharp lens. It focuses very quickly, and I want to show you that right now. So what I'm going to do is just spin it all the way to infinity. Hopefully you can see this. And it just went through the whole focal range all the way to the other side, and it's really quiet. So I'll put it next to the microphone, and you can just barely hear it. I mean, this is really quiet, that even when I'm shooting events, and if someone's giving a toast or a speech, I can focus with this, and no one can hear it compared to a shutter click. So that's just another studio image. Here's a car shot. You can see lots of different photos. Again, another rolling shot. And this lens is just absolutely fantastic. It is super sharp and crispy. It focuses really fast, and it can focus fairly close. So as you can see, this shot was probably around 30 or 40 millimeters. I'll find out, and I'll put the info up on my website. But you can see that it focuses very well. David here just smiled. I took a photo of him, and it came out really nicely. And so you can see that this lens is just perfect for so many different things. For really close, candid portraits, to posed full body portraits, you can see here. And it is just absolutely stunning what you can get with this lens. So I rarely have a reason to put on the 50 or the 85 when I have this range. And I'm shooting most of my portraits, around f3.2 to f4 if they are zoomed in around 70. Of course, it is nice to, shoot with a 1.4 or with a 1.8 aperture, but this is just an all-around great lens. Here's an example of an image I took where, it was very dirty and dusty. This is out in Monterey, California, and the lens had no problems here. It was basically covered in dirt, and I just rubbed it off, and it was totally fine after the shoot. Here's another example showing you kind of the focal range. So you can see this is a little bit of a wider shot, and then with the same lens at the same spot, I got this shot of just one car. So I just moved over, zoomed in, and cropped the other car out. So you can get a lot of detail, great colors with this lens, and of course, keep in mind that a lot of this is, how you edit your images and process them when you're shooting raw in Lightroom and in Photoshop. Here is a great example of the bokeh. So this was shot at f2.8, 1/400th of a second at 24 millimeters. You can see that the McLaren 570S in the background is very, very nicely blurred out. You can see that the key, hopefully this file loads if it's on my local hard drive. The key is nice and sharp in focus, and you can see that my hand blurs out very nicely. It's not harsh at all, and there's very, very little chromatic aberration. There's a little bit of green, but that's actually from the wall of green plants right here. So awesome shots on this. This is the same location, the green wall. You can see very little chromatic aberration. This file I don't think I have on my hard drive, but you can see that it's absolutely fantastic. Now here is a night shot that I took handheld. I forgot my tripod on the shoot. This is handheld. This is, I believe, 1/30th of a second or 1/40th, and you can see that the image came out pretty decently. Hopefully I have this file on here. Sorry, I just transfer files between hard drives all the time for backup and to save space on my internal solid state drive, but you'll see once this loads, if it does, that this actually came out pretty sharp, and that is thanks to the vibration control. So you can see it is noisy. This is higher up in the ISO. This is probably ISO 2 or 3000, probably 3200, but you can see you can read all the numbers clearly, even the kilometers per hour on the speedo. You can read 260, 240, 220, all that very, very clearly. And you can read that this is a Nardi steering wheel and the cruise control stock and the M logo on the wheel, and that's zoomed in at 100% crop. So fantastic lens overall. Now an issue that I do have sometimes, even with the vibration compensation, is that it will lose focus, and I think this has more to do with my camera than it does with the actual lens. But you can see if I zoom in here that I focused on the eyes, and the focus looks like it went back just a tiny bit right when I took the shot. I'm not sure why that is, but this does happen to me every so often. You can see the eyes aren't absolutely tack sharp, but with some post-processing, this photo is still totally usable. I would print this shot, no problem at all. And I wish it was just a little bit sharper sometimes, but that is an issue that I get. Here's an example of this lens being used for landscapes. You can see great dynamic range captured by it. This is f11, I believe, at 24 millimeters, and you can see that there's detail in the people down here. The colors are captured very well. There's the orange laces in this guy's sneakers. There's the reds of the lights and the clouds and all that stuff. So this lens is absolutely fantastic for so many things. When I went to Spain and I took these photos, I just kept this lens on my camera at all times. And so if you can just only have one lens on your camera for whatever reason, whether it be your budget or how much space you have when you're going on a trip, this is the lens to have. This is a walk-around lens that is very, very good at everything. It's not absolutely fantastic at anything. For rolling shots, it's great, but I would say an even wider lens, like a 16 to 35 VR, would be even better. For portraits, a 50 1.4 or an 85 1.8 or 1.4 would be better. But if you just want one lens to do it all, this is what I would get. If I had to sell all my lenses and only have one, this is what I would have in my bag, and this is what I use most of the time for my bag. This is super easy. I don't have to change lenses when I'm with clients, if it's just a really quick shoot, and I can get a lot of different shots in a lot of different settings with this lens. So I'm just going to go ahead and keep going through some of the images here. Here's another landscape. You can see tons of details all over the image, and again, I'm going to have these files for you available on my website so you can take a closer look at them. Here, this is just a dark alley in Spain. This is in Toledo, and this is, let's see, 1/30th of a second, ISO 5000, 24 millimeters, and you can see that this photo looks pretty damn sharp all throughout. So tons of different images here. You can see, again, this is 1/20th of a second, handheld 1/20th of a second. Look at how sharp this is. Now I was resting my elbows on a fence for this, like a thicker fence made out of bricks, but you can see the detail all over this image at 1/20th of a second. VC worked out very, very well. And the only real blur you get is like this guy on the motorcycle here, and that's because he's moving and we're shooting at 1/20th of a second. So I absolutely love this lens. I cannot tell you how happy I am with it. Here's 1/40th of a second, ISO 2000 f3.5. Beautiful image, as you can see. Great colors and tones out of this. Fantastic bokeh. So I'm just super happy with this for all sorts and types of photography. Whether you are shooting cars, shooting portraits in studio, outdoors, doesn't matter. This is a fantastic lens, and I can't stress that enough. I know this isn't the most technical review. If you want that, I'd recommend Matt Granger's video or B&H Photo Video's video on this 24-70 lens, but it is absolutely fantastic. I cannot recommend it any more highly. I know Nikon now has a 24-70 VR, but I wouldn't recommend spending the money on that. I would say use this money for the 24-70. Whatever you save, you can spend that on a trip to go shoot somewhere. You can spend that on a tripod. You can spend that on software, upgrading your computer, or just save it. It's nice to have savings. So anyways, if you have any questions about the 24-70 VC from Tamron and the Nikon D800 setup that I've been using for so many of my photos over the last year, please let me know in a comment down below or send me an Instagram DM at @carphotographer. I'm always happy to help. And again, just a fantastic lens. Almost no issues that I can tell you with it except for this plastic glass, whatever it is, cracking up top. Other than that, it's fantastic. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please subscribe if you do. If you have any questions on my other lenses, like the 50-1.4, the 85-1.4G, let me know. I'll make more videos on that. But hopefully you enjoyed, and I'll see you in the next one. Thanks for watching. Peace.